Hello there, Phil the Practical Gardener again. This particular topic is about growing heirloom or heritage plants in your garden. I'm very passionate about this topic. It's something I've been very interested in for all of my gardening life. I'm also very fortunate that I only live within walking distance of a property that specialises in growing organic heritage heirloom plants, and they actually provide them to the local community. Now, it can be quite hard for you to obtain these materials. They may not be available in your local garden store. You might need to reach out to an organisation such as this. The particular one that I assist with is called the Heritage Food Crops Research Trust, but that's in New Zealand where I live. But there are similar organisations, as I understand, in other countries such as the United States and Europe and Australia. The topics that I'll be discussing in relation to this include the benefits that we can get to our health. And by the way, with this topic, even though it's in playlist 15, which is mainly about landscaping and decorative and ornamental plants, but I will actually be talking about produce in our garden, vegetables and fruit. I do actually cover these topics to some degree in other tips, such as companion planting or wildflowers. This is the one where I'm actually going to focus particularly on that. I'll be looking at the benefits to our health through growing heritage plants, the value in diversity, the benefits actually to the environment, and finally how this can help with ease of management. So without more ado, let's get into it. First of all, let's look at the health benefits. A lot of plants have been selected for the cosmetic benefits that they have when they're displayed in a store, or their ease of storage and handling and such like, not really the benefits of health to you. I'll use apples as an example. Studies had been done in the United States which showed that there are compounds in apples which are beneficial in helping to prevent cancer or avoiding the risk of cancer. They found in their studies, and they may have been updated since I've researched this, that the commercial variety which has the highest level of beneficial compounds in the fruit and in the skin in particular is the red delicious apple. However, this trust that I assist with commissioned some research that showed some of the heritage fruits that are around but not generally available have higher levels of these compounds than the commercial ones. These are varieties which have generally been around for some hundreds of years, usually grown originally in Europe. Close to where I live, a particular apple was discovered. It was a chance seedling actually growing by the roadside, and it was tested and was found to have the highest level of beneficial compounds of any apple that had been tested. It's actually called a Monty Surprise, and it is actually available in different countries. I have actually seen it growing in Europe. It probably won't be in your local garden store. You would actually need to do a search to find it, because only limited nurseries will grow and stock it. I'm just using apples as an example. This would be true for other fruits as well. Another example would be tomatoes, where it has been found that tomatoes that have a yellowy orangey skin actually have a more beneficial form of lycopene, which helps to prevent cancer also, particularly prostate cancer. And a range of these tomatoes would be available, but again, you would have to find a particular source, usually an organic or heritage nursery that actually grows and stocks these things. Next, I'll discuss the benefits of diversity. When I was young, that is in the 1960s, my family used to go and purchase fruit from an orchard close to where I lived. And in this orchard, there was an amazing panoply of different cultivars or varieties of fruits that were available. Dozens of them were grown in this orchard. Nowadays, if you went to an orchard, you would probably find that they only grow 2 or maybe 3 varieties of apples. So what has happened over time, the range of fruits and vegetables that are grown has greatly decreased. If you ever see an old catalogue from the 1950s or 1940s from your grandparents or great-grandparents' time, there would probably be a much greater range of fruit and vegetables than are available today. So the range has decreased because of commercial pressures. The same goes for nurseries. I used to purchase from a range of specialist nurseries that grew a particular type of plant in the past, but most of them have closed down, and the nurseries that are remaining are usually ones that have a huge number of a narrow range of plants. So again, you would need to do a search to find the heritage ones that are available and they will be out there in your community. You just have to do a little bit of hunting. Diversity has got a particular benefit, and that it actually provides the genetic range of materials that would be available for future breeding for high health or disease resistant varieties. However, these ones have become marginalised and less available. There's not really a commercial imperative to grow them. Nurseries aren't really motivated to do that. However, again, through these different charitable trusts and community groups, they are available, and really it is up to us as gardeners to actually perpetuate these varieties in the future. Now I'll talk a little bit about the environmental benefits of growing heritage plants, and this time I will actually focus on flowers. And you can see behind me that I've got calendulas and borage growing, nasturtium. These plants have actually self-seeded. I either collect the seed and resow it, or else simply let them self-seed in the garden. That's what's happened with the borage and nasturtium plants behind me there. The benefit of this is I know that those flowers have been pollinated by insects or sometimes birds, and that has allowed the plant to set the seed and distribute it. A lot of plants that are commercially grown now have been grown for the size of their flower. A prime example would be double flowers, where they've been grown to have petals that totally enclose the flower rather than leaving the sexual part of the flower exposed. And quite often these are not actually suitable for pollination by insects. I know that my ones have been pollinated because they have self-seeded by definition. Therefore, I'm encouraging a wide range of insects, bees and other pollinating insects in my garden. And also, of course, I'm not spraying, which I'll get to in a minute. And so therefore, I'm encouraging insects and also birds and other animals in my garden. Studies show that both insects and birds are becoming a lot rarer in the environment. Where I lived when I was young, if we would travel at night through the countryside, our windscreen would get covered with dead insects that we had driven into, and they had splattered on the windscreen. If I drive in the country now, I don't get that. My windscreen ends up totally clean, and that is a bad thing because it means that insects are actually declining. And studies in a range of countries have shown there is quite a dramatic decline in their numbers, and also for birds, and that is actually a very bad thing. But we as gardeners can actually encourage the maintenance and diversity of these different insects. I'm certainly doing my bit here, and you can do the same thing no matter how small your garden is. Finally, I'll talk about the benefits of management. Because I'm growing heritage plants, they have actually been selected for their resistance to the main pests and diseases. So I have very little trouble with these diseases in my garden. I mentioned before the Monty Surprise apple. Apples are actually quite badly affected by a range of pests and diseases, particularly codling moth, around my community. Now I'm growing this heritage variety. I have one tree of this in my garden. I assist at the trust property I mentioned before, and also another orchard that grows the Monty Surprise apple. In no cases do we actually have problems with the codling moth or other pests and diseases. I don't know whether it's because of the natural resistance of these heritage varieties. By the way, there is a greater variety than simply the Monty Surprise in these orchards, or it's because we're actually growing the companion plants underneath, such as the ones that I'm showing here, or because of the organic nature of the way that we're working. I don't know, but the fact is we actually have very little trouble. So therefore, when I cultivate my garden, I have very little trouble with pests and diseases. I don't have to reach for the spray can because the plants are self-maintaining. Now I hope that you actually gathered the passion that I have for this topic in this particular tip, because I am certainly very excited by it. Just a reminder, by the way, that my book Down to Earth Gardening is actually available online in different sources. I'll put the links down below. I'm also interested in your comments and suggestions and questions you have about this topic, so put them underneath in the comments section and I'll be interested to read them and respond to them. And don't forget to like this tip because it helps my channel to grow and also be visible to a wider range of people. Share this with other people. And finally, of course, as always, thank you very much for watching this through to the end.